Hello and welcome to my video. This is a video specifically being made for my DNRS buddies who are processing and thinking through what is going on in the world around us. If you do not know dynamic neural retraining system, you might feel slightly lost, but otherwise, welcome to the video because this is going to be loaded with a lot of information that I hope is helpful as well. So I will give some guidelines here in just a minute that go along with this video. But before I do, let me introduce myself. My name is Crystal Powell. I am a wife of 24 years. I'm a mama of 5 amazing kids, 4 that I homeschool, 1 that is actually in public school. Well, was. I'm also a physical therapist and a wound care specialist. And I am a very recently recovered DNRS retrainer. Yay! Because of that, and because I've had a heads up for a little while, I've actually been able to do some research and follow what is going on and process it well. And therefore, my heart's desire is to give away some good information to help you focus on what is really going on well in the world around us right now. So let me get into some guidelines so that you'll kind of know what to expect with this video. First of all, we are not going to actually talk about what is going on by its name. Those of us who have been in DNRS for a while, DNRS, know that it is always good to give something that seems a little scary or that's a little triggering, a new name, a new association. Make a new association. So for the purpose of this video, I have chosen to call it Fart Knocker. Yep, it's just a silly name. It's one I learned from Tim Hawkins, and my family uses it a lot. So there we go. Fart Knocker it is today. Also, just so you will know, I will not actually be going into all the details about it, and I will not be talking about it's related to it, okay? I'm going to give a brief little introduction before I talk about different sections of information. The reason being is I want you to feel empowered that you have a choice whether or not you want to continue to listen to that information being given or not. You can turn the video off, you can walk away from it, you can mute me for a while and come back, whatever you need to do, because I want you to stay in your training zone. That is what I am here, is to help you to stay in it as well. But turn me off, you won't offend me, I promise. I'll never even know. So, also I want you to know that I'm not actually going to be talking about any information that has not been validated, meaning that the information I am presenting today, whoops, sorry, I was trying to adjust my video, has come from the CDC, the World Health Organization. I'm not doing a good job here. I apologize. Here we go. Let's leave it at that. It's come from Johns Hopkins. I took an online continuing education class that was being offered for healthcare providers to help prepare me, my family, and you guys as well with this. And it's also from some medical journals, physicians that have spoken. Just trying to think, I think that's about it. Okay? The focus of this video will be on the amazing facts, truths, and positives of Fart Knocker and all the reasons that Limby needs to know to stay calm. I will offer some DNRS tips for staying in your training zone, caring for yourself, getting needed items, managing information, managing family and friends who maybe are not as calm as you are or they're looking for assurance from you. And at the end, I'm also going to give some tips specifically for healthcare providers. This is going to be information that comes from DNRS principles, as well as I have a background where I have been on the ground as a healthcare provider after natural disasters. And I know what it's like when you are working in emergency situations. Not exactly the same as what you're dealing with now, but hopefully I can say something that might help as well. I hope so. Let's see, what else is, obviously this is being recorded, so, and it's going to be listed on my Facebook, my YouTube. So what I'm asking you is keep an open mind and a positive mind. The people who are watching this video, my buddies and my friends that I love, know that we do not want to post anything that would be triggering. So in the comments, I'm asking you to please don't post anything negative. Please think before you speak. Post, and speak. THINK. Is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And is it LIMBY friendly? Okay. We want to keep this safe for everyone. I'm also asking that when I am done tonight, this is specifically to my buddies, my friends, or anyone else, when I am done with this information, I'm encouraging you to take 24 to 48 hours and move all this information to the frontal cortex of your brain where you can really think and process it for yourself. If in 24, 48 hours you still feel like you need help, you can reach out to me. Just know that I might be slow to respond because I have a family and a lot going on. But first, try to process it yourself. Okay, and I'm going to give a lot more information in that regard. The last thing I want to say before we get into this is that I am not, at this point in time at least, I am not a DNRS coach. So I am only someone who is recently recovered, still holding on tight to it. I'm still following these principles, right? This is not exactly a time you just let loose. I want to get stronger, get better even. But because I'm able to communicate this good news with grace and ease. All right. So if you're watching this and you're feeling a little antsy, here we go. We're going to start with taking 3 deep breaths and just calm our brains. One more. Now, all my laughter yoga buddy friends, you've done this before. I want you to reach in deep to that brain. I want you to pull out everything you already have heard or think you know about Fart Knocker and throw it away. Now you got a clean slate and Limby is happy and ready to learn good things. We're going to replace as much of that as we can, all right? So now I'm going to give just some general information about caring for you during this season, during this time period. First of all, I strongly encourage you, take care of you. I beg of you, and I assure you, it is so okay if you stay 100% off of all types of media forms, especially live television or other media forms that have visual input. Visual media forms really do put in more of the drama. They focus on the worst case scenarios, and they're going to be just far more possibly triggering to Limby. If you feel like you need to go find some information, I encourage you to find written sources that you can process with your eyes and read, and it won't be quite as challenging on your limbic system to handle it, okay? Now, I promise you, even if you lived under a rock right now, if there was any information that you just really, really had to know, guess what? It would find you. It would come to you. I promise you. It'll find you. So now let me just remind everyone, when we are under high stress, what has Annie taught us that we focus on? We focus on our bodies, we focus on our environment, and we focus on time. All right, so what I'm going to encourage you is you're going to feel the need to do that a lot. So as the next, however long this goes on, work to shift your focus. Now, I realize we all have different training zones, and some of us will be able to do a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that than other people will. But what I want to encourage you is, can you in any way, from your home, you don't even have to leave, you don't even have to get dressed to do these things, find a way to focus maybe a little bit of shifting towards someone else while you're taking care of you. Can you write a card? Those of us who are part of Kim's laughter yoga group, she can email you a list of addresses that you could send cards to our laughter yoga buddies. Know that there are lots of people in nursing homes right now who would love a card. Can you write a card? Can you get on your phone and send a silly message, or send your voice recording you laughing or something of that nature to another buddy? Can you shift your focus just a little in that way? Now I realize some of you that's in your zone and some of you won't, but think about what can you do. But also just shift your focus. These are DNRS principles, not mine. Coloring, reading, watching a funny movie, find something else. If you're able, like I said, send cards, anything. Think out of the box. Think out of the box and just continue to work on shifting your focus. All right. Number 3, be very aware of the impact of the environment around you and use your frontal cortex to make appropriate adjustments. Ask those that are close to you to possibly limit their conversations about Fart Knocker. If that is unavoidable, you may want to ask if you can schedule or arrange a time to have those conversations with people. And then when it is time for you to sit down and have those conversations, then you can go ahead and maybe even set a time limit if you need to. Apologize. My mom is calling me on my phone. So consider maybe setting up a time, and then if need to, say, okay, you have 5 minutes. And then say, okay, now I need to go take care of me. And then go calm your limbic system in whatever way you need to. I want you to know it's really, really okay to say, I really look forward to discussing this with you, but right now it's just not in my training zone. And then if you can, give another time. If not, then say, I will get back to you as soon as I can, or give me a little time to process this and then we'll talk, okay? Now, for your own healing, this is something that my coach had to help me to understand. For your own healing of your own limbic system, it is really important that you do not engage in conflict. I had an experience, I'm recovered, and I have a friend who has a spouse who works in a hospital, and she's scared. And I get why she's scared. I understand why she's scared. So, but I tried to say to her, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's all going to, I'm so sorry. My screen is going funky things. It's going to be okay. Well, she did not like it. I learned very quickly that that was triggering to her, and it became triggering back towards me. So just know that at that point I let her know, well, I love you. I didn't try to convince her otherwise. I love you and I'm praying for you. And we're able to just kind of move on. Not everyone wants to hear something positive. I wish they did, but sadly, it's kind of like the world around us. A lot of people are developing limbic system impairments right now. And so we just need to be very careful. Be very careful. Take care of you. All right, when unwanted information sneaks in and it surprises Limby, and chances are if you're watching this video, it already has for you. But it's going to probably happen again. All of a sudden you hear something and it takes you by surprise. You see something, it takes you by surprise. I really like the approach that my coach taught me, that it's okay. It's okay, Limby, it's okay. I know this doesn't feel good right now, but Limby, I'll process it and just know we're gonna be okay. It's okay, it's okay. Give yourself a lot of grace as you work through this process. This may be a day after day process for a while. Things are changing, evolving nonstop. So it may be that you're feeling really good now, and tomorrow all of a sudden you're like, oh, and you have to say, it's okay, Limby. It's okay, Limby. It's okay. A lot of self-soothing talk right now is really a good idea. Listen, if your Limby is talking to you all day long, no, it is totally okay to talk right back to Limby all day long. I have always, you know, you learn, you think Limby is like a child, and like this 3-year-old throwing a fit. And so sometimes you've got to just have nice, soothing, calm, Lindy, it's okay. I understand that you feel that way. You just can trust me. We've got this. And then I'll be honest, I've had a couple of times I said, Lindy, now shut your mouth. I'm mom. You listen. So I think the gentle approach is the best approach. But I've come to the point a couple of times, I come to the end of the rope, like, nope, the gentle is now, it's mama's stern voice. Yeah, I got your attention now. And the last thing I want to say in this is you've been really good to your limbic system. Whether you've been doing this program a week, a month, a year, 2, 3 years, however long it's been, you have been really, really good to your limbic system. And that means that with every round, you're building your limbic system and building your immune system. So when it has come time, if something happened and you were to end up with fart knocker, your limbic system is going to help you. Am I saying that because you're doing DNRS, you're not going to get this? No, I'm not. But I think that after you hear some statistics, you'll realize it's still not that likely, okay? All right, here we go. This next section, so you'll know, is great news that you need to know about fart knocker. I'm going to go into several things now specifically about that and what's going on in the world. Well, first of all, fart knocker is not what your Limby probably thinks it is. It is nothing that the vast majority of us really need to be hysterical about. There have been other fart knockers that are similar to this, and I'm meaning they spread from one place in the world to other countries. Therefore, that's why it's called a pandemic. And the first one was in 2002, and the second similar one was in 2012. Now, do you remember life shutting down with either one of those? Do you remember all these schools closing, stores closing, having trouble finding toilet paper, like whatever else it is? Do you know? Because they didn't. Nothing shut down for either one of them. We all went on with life. So at this point, I'm going to read to you a quote from the World Health Organization. This is the World Health Organization Munich Security Conference. And I'd be honest, I don't know the exact date. I think this was possibly back towards the end of February because it refers to it as an epidemic. And now it's considered a pandemic, all right? So it says, this is the WHO Munich Security Conference. So we're not just fighting an epidemic, we're fighting an infodemic. Fake news spread faster and more easily than fart knocker and is just as dangerous. That's why we're working with search and media companies like Facebook, Google, Pinterest, Tencent, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and others to counter the spread of rumors and misinformation. So be very, very careful where you're getting your information from because it may not be legit, and chances are. And if you move, what I'm really hoping to do is give you information that takes this information that might be sitting in your limbic system and moving it to your frontal cortex where you can process it and you feel capable of making decisions for you and your family. So knowing that, do you really think you can trust the media? No, I'd say you can't. So be careful where your sources are coming from of information. Now, the second thing I want you to know is that the number of people with confirmed fart knocker is really very low. In China, now China's already peaked and they're already come down and they're already in the recovery process. Some really great things are happening there. So in China, only 56 out of 1 million people got fart knocker. 80% of those had it so mild, very, very mild, very, very mild. Now, that's China. So far, what the latest statistic that I read, and most of this information came out of as of Saturday, March 20, so the 21st, I think, 21st, okay? In Italy, it's a bigger number, but only 206 out of 1 million people have got Fartnacher. And in South Korea, it's 153 out of 1 million people actually got it. The number of people, let's compare that to the number of people in the United States currently, according to the CDC, who have the flu is 31 million people. And the last count I saw is that we were still sitting over 80,000 cases worldwide, okay? So the risk is very, very low. Let that sink into your frontal cortex and process that, okay? Now, let's talk about recovery rates versus the least favored outcome. In 2002 and 2012, they had a much smaller recovery rate, still high, but much smaller than this Fartnacher does, okay? Those who, I'm making sure on my notes to tell you the correctly. The one in 2002 had a recovery rate of about 90%, meaning about 10% of people had the least favorite outcome. The one in 2012 was the one that came out of another area, and it actually, the recovery rate was 65%, and 35% of those had the least favorite outcome. That is much, much higher. Do you know what the recovery rate is currently globally? 96 to 97% of people recover from Fartnacher. That is the global rate. That is what it was in China as well. In the United States, as of Saturday, 98% so far, or let's put it this way, the percentage of people with the least favorite outcome is 2%. 2% of those who are actually getting it. And then in Australia, it's 0.07%. In Canada, it's 1.1%. Like I said, these numbers were as of Saturday, March 21st. Now, take those numbers in perspective. There's still a lot of cases. There's a lot of people who haven't been diagnosed. But what's going to happen likely is that a lot more people are going to be confirmed with these cases of it, and the recovery rates may actually go up higher. Okay. So in time, we'll see. China's the only one that we're pretty much almost completely on the other side. They opened up 6 temporary facilities to care for people. 2 of them have already closed, possibly more, I do not know, but they're already recovering. And so according to what happened there, which caught them off guard, they were unprepared for, it was still, the recovery rate is right between 96 and 97%. That's good news, right? Very good news. So if you really look at what the recovery rate is, it is not far off from the seasonal flu. And some people are projecting that when this is all over, the recovery rate will actually be like 98%. And it may be closer to that because of how many people will never even get tested because they're have such mild symptoms kind of thing. And they're expecting it to be closer to 98%, which is much closer to the flu, which is those who have the least favored outcome in the flu is about 0.1%. But then there's also 31 million people in the United States affected by the flu. So in areas of China that were actually outside of the big concentrated areas where there were so many cases of Fartnacher, their percentage rates were actually only 0.4 to 0.7% of those with the least favored outcome. So when you think with your frontal cortex and you process this information, what do you think these numbers are actually telling you about your own personal risk? I think they're saying it's pretty low, pretty low. So I'm going to move to the next thing. So that's great news, really good news. All right, the next thing is, I think it's important for you to know that Fartnacher does not live very well outside of the body. Now it can, all right, it can, but the only way it continues to grow and replicate and live and survive is it's got to have a host, like a human being. It's got to be in someone. So it can spread from person to person. When it does, it goes usually through coughs and sneeze and things like that. And that is why it's important we just take general precautions, right? We sneeze into a tissue, ka-choo, and then we immediately throw it in the trash and go wash our hands with soap and water for 20 to 30 seconds. You can sing happy birthday while you're doing it and keep those hands clean, all right? It's also important that you cough into your elbow, hands clean still once again, all that kind of stuff. So I looked it up because I've been asked this, like how long can it live outside the body? Because it can go on metal, plastic, or whatever from other people. And generally, the information so far is saying usually about 2 hours. And because Fart Knocker is the first one like this that we've seen, but it's a type of other fart knockers that have been out there based upon information between what we've already experienced before, like ones I've just mentioned earlier, and this one, there's reason to think that it could possibly even hang on to a surface up to 9 days. Probably not likely, but maybe. 2 hours is probably like it. That's why you just keep things clean and maintained well, but that's it. And of course, if if things were to get on something, first of all, what's your chances of someone else being around you with this or being on packages or anything else? What's your chances of that? Pretty slim, that someone would sneeze or whatever, and then you come up behind them. Pretty slim. It's there, I'm not saying it's not, but it's not as likely. And so just keep your hands clean, wash your hands, don't take your hands to your face, all that kind of stuff that's being shared. Just think flu. If the flu was around you, what would you do? You would clean your hands. You wouldn't eat after people, drink after people or whatever it is, and you would probably wipe down surfaces and things like that. So just use your general common sense of how you would take care of something like that and exercise it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the truth about who is actually getting Fart Knocker. Fart Knocker is not an equal offender, which is unusual and interesting. But what they're showing so far is that kids and teens seem to be not really getting this. According to the WHO in China reports, kids and teens are extremely rare cases. And in one study from China, only 2.4% of the cases, now 56 out of 1 million people, and 2.4% of those were children. That's a really small amount, guys. Really small amount. And out of that 2.4%, only 0.2% of them actually were serious cases, and none of them were reported in this study as having actually had the least favored outcomes. Now, in ages 10 to 39, it says that they had a 0.2% of least favorable outcomes. That's really small still. Meanwhile, it has proven to be a higher risk if you are 80 or older, at least according to the study from China and the WHO. And like triples your chance is what I believe I read. But let's keep this in perspective. So 56 people out of 1 million in China actually got Fart Knocker. And out of those who were over the age of 80, actually tripled the chance, but that means that like maybe 13 out of 1 million people. And maybe my math is a little bit off. You can do it yourself, but just know that if you put it in perspective about the number of people who actually got this, it's pretty low. It's pretty low. So I think that no matter what your age is, you should not be sitting around scared or worried in any way. Don't let Limby pop over this, okay? Put it in perspective. Put those things together. Okay, so then what can you do? This is what I'm being asked. Well, what can you do? And I'm going to answer some more questions at this point. One of the questions that I was asked by several people, and I totally get it. It's a great question, and we all want to know. People around the world, whether you have a limbic system impairment or not, they want to know, should I be concerned about things that are being shipped to me or not? Should I not? Well, you ultimately have to decide that, but I'm going to tell you how I decide that. If you put together the statistics that I just gave a little while ago, the chances of you getting it from a box and of it surviving through transit or being packaged together from someone else is pretty slim. Plus the way that the world is now, we're not caught off guard. So if anyone were sneezing or coughing, anything like that, they're really not even going to be probably allowed to go to work, most likely. So I am not saying and promising or guaranteeing in any way that you wouldn't, but in my mind, I'm thinking it's really, really, really slim chance that I'm going to get something that's coming from a package or something that was being shipped to me. Really, really don't think so. I don't think it even survived. Now, the CDC website does have a list of cleaning materials, and probably some of you have looked at it to see what you have on hand. And I have what is hopefully some great news for you. This is an article right here. This is the, oh, how do I put it in your video? Okay, well, you probably saw it. This is persistence of fart knockers on inanimate surfaces and their inactivation with biocidal agents. So this was a study that they were looking at, and this is one of the studies that says that it could be on a surface, possibly for a while, possibly up to 9 days. And this study was looking back at, it's an analysis of 22 studies over other types of fart knockers that have caused the same type of pandemic responses, let's put it that way. And one of the things that lists in here is something that some of you may already have at home. Hydrogen peroxide, okay? Most household hydrogen peroxide is 3% hydrogen peroxide. It says on here that 0.5% hydrogen peroxide will get rid of fart knockers within 1 minute. So if you're really concerned and it really is bothering you, one thing you might want to consider is cleaning with some hydrogen peroxide. For me, in my house, I spray it on handles and different things. I let it sit for 1 minute so it kills it out, and then I come back and I wipe off the surface after a minute. So that's an option for you as well. So let's see, we're going to move on. What's next? And then what else can you do? Alrighty, first of all, you're already doing what you need to do. Every single time you do a round, you are building your immune system. Like I said earlier, does that mean you won't get it? No, it doesn't. But you are strengthening your immune system every time you do a round. So keep doing what you already know you need to do. And then beyond that, just think flu. If the flu was to come to your house, you or someone else, what would you want to have on hand? How would you want to handle that? What would you want to do? Okay, so keep building your immune system. Keep your hands and your home clean, and most importantly, do not let Lindy freak out over this. Do not, okay? You got this. You're gonna soar through this. We're all going to do amazing. All right, well, that's the end of my general information here. So at this point, I'm gonna move into some questions. So I actually offered to my buddies, my laughter yoga buddies, that if they were having a hard time or wanting to know about certain things without going and diving into information that would possibly be challenging for the limbic system, that they could send me a list of questions. And I've received a bunch of questions that are wonderful. They're great questions, and many of you were wondering them too. You just didn't ask. And so here I go. I'm not going to list anyone by name or anything like that. Nobody has to know who sent me any questions, but I'm going to give you a little bit of information as best as I can. So the first one I have down is, I'm a healthcare worker and I struggle with balancing what I need to know and caring for Lindy. Now, I realize I don't really know what this person's doing, what they're involved in, all of that kind of stuff. But like I said, I've been a healthcare worker, and there are things you have to know. And it may just be that you have to look at knowledge as a way to calm Limby. You know, if you're watching this video, hopefully you're getting a little bit more knowledge and seeing it, what's going on in a little bit different light, and it's helping you to calm Limby as well. I was thinking about a video I watched very recently about a young girl, a young woman, and apparently her name is McKenna, and she was going through nursing school while she was training, and someone asked her how she handled some of those challenging classes that she had to sit through. And she said she'd go to her class and sometimes tell her limbic system, "Okay, Limby, you can go take a nap now." I just really like that approach, because if you're working in this, you can't be completely oblivious to it. You can't just like walk away from it, but you may be able to be like, "Okay, Limby, this is a good thing. I need to know this. It's all going to be okay." And now hopefully you will just take that information and really move it to your frontal cortex and process it appropriately. I think if you can see the information is good, it's going to be helpful for you to process it as well. And tell Limpy it's okay. It's okay if you're uncomfortable with this, but it's good for us, and we're going to be okay, type thing. And then at the end, I'll have a few more tips on that. And I think part of that is hearing a lot of talk and conversations, and the people around you are scared. And I'll address a little bit more of that. Okay, next question. This question was about obtaining provisions like groceries and essentials. They said, do you think delivery is best or go out and get them? And then suggestions for which is best and how to get it. Also, should I get supplies sooner or later? And how long are we expecting to be dealing with this? Well, I heard about this several weeks before it hit my area. I live in northern Colorado. And because, like I said, I have a friend in Saudi Arabia and a friend in India, and their schools already went to e-school like 2 weeks before our schools did here in the United States, pretty much. At least Colorado and Texas, and just about everywhere. It's 2 to 3 weeks before everybody else. So because of that, I was already processing and thinking through this and started picking up items. But I remember the first time I walked into the grocery store and there was someone with this massive pile cart, and I was just like, and my Limby went, ooh, my eyes got really big, and I walked back to the bathroom area, and there's no bathroom necessities, and I'm like, uh-oh. And my limbic system did not like that feeling at all, but of course I can control the circumstances. All I can control and all you control is how you choose to react and respond in light of the circumstances around you. So then I had to go back to a store, and let's just say that 1 or 2 people that seemed to be getting things together and like preparing for the survival mode became like a whole store full of people. And that was really challenging too. But I intentionally laughed all the way through the store. I mean, I giggled and I laughed. I even put my phone down where you could video just me on my cart, and I got video of me walking all the way through the store, just laughing, looking and smiling at people, trying my best to engage in a positive way, just trying to stay so calm. And it worked, and it was really good. But after several hours of that, though, I was like, I told my husband, I'm not going back to the store for a long time. I don't want to. I am recovered, but I don't want to be surrounded by people who are in survival mode, basically. I've moved out of that. Thank you, God. And I don't want to go back into it for any reason whatsoever. So if it's slowly kind of penetrating into your area and this is an issue getting supplies, I would encourage you to consider delivery and not going into an environment. Be aware that you can be totally calm, and it's just very challenging. But if you're really having a hard time processing all this and staying calm, I don't suggest you put yourself in that environment. For your brain's healing, it is so wise, thank you for my coach again, that you are surrounded by positive people. Positive people. Don't want to be surrounded by people who are having a really hard time with all of this. For that reason, the next time I ordered some more supplies recently, and chosen that I'm going to try not to go into those environments if I don't need to. Now, I'm going to follow that up and say, today, things have died down some where I'm at now. And as a result, I quickly ran into a small grocery store to see if they had some more eggs. Excuse me, eggs, milk, something I can't remember. But anyways, just a couple of things. And there was not, and it was late in the afternoon. There was not many people in the store at all. I mean, maybe, seems like 2 handfuls of people in the store. It was so calm and peaceful. I thought, oh my gosh, I could shop like this all the time. Because there was like nobody there. And then I really needed something from Walmart. There was a Walmart up the road. I thought, oh, let me just go see. Same story. I don't think I came in within 15 or 20 feet of maybe 2 people the whole time I was in Walmart. Odd. It was odd. It was kind of almost creepy, but it was calm. So you may be able to find times like that it's a calm time to shop, possibly. So maybe you don't. And then as far as should I get supplies now or later, sooner or later, my reasoning for this is you get them now. The reason being is I don't think it's healthy for your limbic system to get into a panic. So I wouldn't want you to be like, oh, I have to have X, Y, Z. I need to have it on hand. You run out of it, you go to the store and you can't get X, Y, or Z. And then now Limby's uncomfortable with that. I think you need to be prepared. Now, in the world of DNRS, we all know that there is awareness and there's avoidance, okay? And this circumstance, as far as taking care of your basic needs, think of it as awareness and avoidance. Now, like hoarding would be more like avoidance in the sense of, I think hoarding is going to trigger the parts of your brain that are going to go into those limbic fear centers. You don't want to hoard, but you want to be prepared. You want to think, what do I need to have on hand? And if you're going to order stuff, no, it might take you a week. It might take longer to get those things if you're ordering them. So you might have to think a week or 2 ahead out. Do I need X, Y, Z? Well, I need them in a week or 2. And then just start using your rational brain and make a plan for how you're going to get them. Now, when you're making decisions like this as well, I strongly encourage you, talk to a spouse or some other non-limbic friend or someone else to help make those decisions together. Like I said, have recently recovered, but when this hit, I called my husband, Scott, I'm in the store, this is what's going on. Do you think I should pick up a few more things or not? I'm like, my limbic brain is starting to want to throw a few pops at me. So help me think through this. And the 2 of us made some decisions together. And if it was something for us that we knew that we were going to need and we wouldn't be wasteful doing it, then we went ahead and picked up a few more items. I have a big family. It is not okay for me to freak out over whether or not I have what my family needs. So I encourage you to find someone that you can discuss these things with, all right? Let's see, was there anything else in that? And then, how long are we expecting to deal with this? Well, we're going to be watching, I think the world is going to be watching the other countries that are going through this as well. But like I said, China's already peaked and is coming down. And if they have any new cases, it's very, very, very few. It's almost gone. Like I said, most of their, some of their temporary places they put up are closing. Lots of good things from what I hear, and this is not validated. This is say so, but that South Korea is on the same thing. They might be, but they've done pretty well compared to China. And but if you go specifically on the cycle of how long it took to start, peak, and come through on China, we're looking at a 3 to 4 month cycle. That's not what I want to be saying. Does that mean life is going to continue to look like it does today? No, hopefully not. But it does mean that we may be in this state or something similar to it, the world around us, our lives, and how it's affecting us, our kids, everyone else for a few more months, Don't pop over that. And I'm saying that to myself too, because this too will pass. This too will pass. We just don't have an exact end in sight, okay? And then next question is suggestions for managing emails with world event information in them. Woo! I don't know about you guys, but I could open my emails right now, and I know that just over the weekend I got several hundred emails about this. I don't even know how many, but it seems like about 50 a day. I may be exaggerating, but that's what it seems like. So what I started doing is I'd take about 5 minutes and I would literally just go delete, 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 and just delete as many of them as I could. I'd skim through to find anything I might need to know, like my kid's school or something else in that regard, and just delete, 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 really quick as quick as I can. And then I changed my mind because that was taking a lot of my time, and now I've started going through, and if it's a company or somebody I really don't need the information from, I'm unsubscribing as many people as I possibly can. So here's my suggestion. If you really think there's going to be somebody that you are going to want to still have these emails from, say 4 months down the road from now, get you a piece of paper, write a list, say unsubscribe, and then start listing who all you unsubscribed from. Set it aside. 4 months from now, go pick up that list and see if you really want to subscribe back to these. They'll still be there. And the truth be told, I don't think you'll want to. I really, really don't think you'll want to. I think you're going to go, oh, I like this inbox with a lot less bombarding information in my life as you've recovered even more from DNRS. And so that's my biggest suggestion to you is that, because it's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. And, you know, I love that every company I've ever ordered something from is telling me how that is doing something to address Fort Knocker in some way. But I don't need to know how they're addressing it. I don't need to know that information. That is not vital to my living, especially right now. All right, we're going to move on. So somebody asked me specifically, they said, Crystal, I want to know what you're doing to help with all the uncertainty. So let me give you some tips. I'm going to read this from my paper, all right? So I have wisely chosen my sources of information. Getting that information has helped me to use my frontal cortex and make rational decisions for myself and my family of 7. I've literally watched maybe 5 minutes of live TV. I don't do live TV. I didn't do much of that before DNRS. I still don't want to do it. But I am reading a lot of information, like I said, especially from reliable places. After the initial shock, I decided to do whatever brought my limby peace. For me, I needed to feel prepared and ready. I went shopping and attempted to get enough food for 2 to 4 weeks to have on hand. I then found online options for other purchases. I made sure that I had basic medicinal supplies and supplements on hand just in case someone basically had the flu at my house. I inventoried all of my current food plus the foods that I was able to get at the store, and I did a 1-month menu of meals, and that makes me feel so good. I'm like, I don't have to be concerned. I don't have to let my brain think along the lines of survival and making sure I can feed my kids or anything like that. Okay, so that's really helped me a lot. And then also now I'm enjoying, I've got this time and I'm really enjoying cooking all these things. I'm like, oh, I hadn't cooked that in a long time. I'll cook this. Oh, that takes a little more time. I've got time. I'll do it. Yay. And then also I kept some very short but very positive conversations with my kids to assure them that we're going to be fine. And that's taken place several times over several days because they're hearing things from their friends and this and that and whatever. And so I reviewed hand washing. I have some little kids who are not so great at cleaning their hands. So we had to talk about that. And then above all of my mirrors, I have a little sign that says, wash hands 20 to 30 seconds with hot soapy water and sing happy birthday. I'm looking at one right here. So also we talked a little bit about eating to boost our immune systems and cleanliness. And then also I just assured them with the above statistics. I shared a lot of those with them and have modeled calm to them. So plus I should also say that it helps in one regard that I'm not telling my story here. This is not what this is about. But I rewired at a time that Annie did not necessarily suggest you do, but it was not the ideal time to be rewiring your brain. But in my situation, it was a necessity and it was perfect and prime in many ways. Let's just say I went months and months and months of extremely uncertain circumstances. And it was very challenging to rewire during all of that. But you know what happened in the end? Barely around a year or so later, I rewired my brain despite my circumstances. And I believe I rewired them stronger. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. All right, now someone asked, what about the impact on pregnant moms and will everyone get this? Okay, here's the thing. I think I have amazing news. It's not a lot of news though. You have to keep that in mind. But in China alone, the only information so far, unless this has changed since Saturday, could have, the only information so far is that there were 9 pregnant women in China who all ended up with fart knocker towards the end of their pregnancy. All 9 of them gave birth to very healthy children who did not have fart knocker, and they all recovered. Based upon that small little, 9 people's not a lot of cases, I would say they're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. So unfortunately, we won't know long term, and until this continues to clear out more. But I'm thinking it seems to be like they're probably like teens and children doing really well with this. It's not really bothering them. Will everyone get this? Oh, now let's move all that information I gave earlier to our frontal cortex, and let's answer that before I answer it. No, it is not even statistically possible. Let me tell you this. I didn't tell my group this the other day. I looked up the amount of cases in China as of Saturday was over 81,000 cases. Did you know that China has a population of 1,408,526,449? So if you do your basic percentage math, that is 0.0057% of their population got this. And then I read a statistic 2 days ago that 20% of Americans actually already believe they have it. Now, is that even statistically possible? It's not. It's not. That goes back to the media and what people are hearing, and how it's triggering the fear centers of the brain. But we in DNRS know better, don't we? Yes. Yes, we do. Okay? Even in Italy, the percentage at this point per population is 0.0777%. So not even 0.1% of either their populations actually have got fart knocker. So will everyone get this? No. Okay, moving on. The next question is handling family and friends, continuing to rewire during all this stress, handling family conversations, online groups like Bible studies or other groups, grown-up conversations, family decisions on food, work from home. I think I've talked a little bit about that. I think you make those decisions together as best as you can. And then also the comments just made, they're just concerned that if something happens to someone, will they be able to handle it? Basically, that's kind of what it. So here's what I'm going to say. I've already talked about having those conversations. So some of us have teens, some of you have grown kids, and they are looking to talk to you. They are looking for assurance. Some of you have adult kids who are working, healthcare providers out in this, and they're going to want to talk to you. They need to talk to you, okay? So it may be that you need to do a lot of scheduling time so that you're not feeling caught off guard. prepared, or saying, okay, I've got this time limit, we can talk about this, and then I need to go and take care of me at that point. Whatever it is, only you can decide exactly what is the best way to handle that. But think of it that way. But what I want to encourage you is that you're doing your best, and your best is good enough. Remember these DNRS principles, they don't change per the circumstances. You're doing your best, and your best is good enough. If you can give them a 5-minute conversation, that's great. If you can give them more, that's fantastic. Something happens and someone is there, will you be able to handle it? You will, to the best of your abilities, and that will be your best. So don't let LIMBY hop over that. Plus, keep in mind the statistics that are being shared. It's a small chance. I am not saying you won't know anyone or none of you will possibly end up with fart knocker, but it is a small chance. So don't sit and future predict. Don't already put yourself there or your family members there, okay? If you get to that point and something happens and you do need to help someone, you'll be able to the best of your ability, and your best will be good enough, okay? So let's see. You might even want to do lots of future visualizations. I had something in my journey where I needed to do, and it was not going to be easiest thing for me to do. So my coach said, visualize it. Visualize, 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 to the point where all of a sudden your brain feels like you've already done this. You go in to go do it, and it's like, oh, we've already been here, done that. It just kind of snoozes right there. Well, guess what? It worked. It really worked. So maybe you don't want to visualize having these tough conversations, but visualize sitting down and having conversations with your family and talking with grace and ease and feeling the calm and the peace and the joy that you are engaged in the moment with your child or your other family member, who it is, and able to be there. Visualize, visualize, visualize. Let's see. You may even want to do sandwich rounds before and after if you know if the conversation is going to be particularly challenging for you. Of course, I continue to be careful not to engage in negative conversations. You might even want to ask your family members to call it fart knocker. They might look at you a little strange, but maybe it'll kind of ease the conversation and bring down the level of that to something more tolerable for everyone. And of course, extend a lot of grace and expect that those around you will not be as calm as your LIMBY is. You might even have to tell your LIMBY, of course they're not. Of course they're not, LIMBY. Of course they feel this way, but we don't have to follow their example. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Okay, next question was, oh, I just feel disappointed. How do you suggest we deal with the disappointments of this? And for many of us, depending on where you're at in your training zone and where you're at in this journey, for some of us, we lived life where we were waiting to get to the point where we could go. And now we've reached to this point where we can go, we can do what we want to do, we want to go, we want to do it, and now we're like, we have to be home. Of course you're disappointed. I'm disappointed. There are things I want to do. Of course your kids are disappointed. They love you, mom and dad, but they'd rather be at school with their friends. Of course they would. Of course they would. So what I would encourage you is talk. A lot of good self-talk with LIMBY. Of course you feel this way, but turn it around with that pop opposite. This is not going to be forever. This too shall pass. And think out of the box. If any of you lived in my neighborhood, we'd be walking up and down our streets together with a little distance so we could talk and engage and smile and interact. Think out of the box. Can you get together with a neighbor and do some walking? Can you go hiking still? I know that state parks are still open where I live. So far, you can go hiking and outdoor activities like that, just not in groups. Can you find another outlet? Get on and laugh. Just getting on the laughter yoga and seeing your names and your faces just lights my soul up and encourages me every time so much. But just think out of the box. Of course, you're disappointed. Of course. And then what I also encourage is Stay in touch with people the best you can, especially positive people. But make phone calls. Pick up the phone and call somebody and talk to them. You are going to feel so much more connected if you call and talk to someone than just texting with them as well. All right, last question is, someone said rounds are feeling so much harder. I'm just fighting negative thoughts and I feel like my rounds are so flat right now. Well, I have got good news for you. Did you know that flat rounds still work? They still do their job. Of course it's harder. Right now you might feel like you're pushing against a brick wall to get that round in and to do it because of the level of stress. And in a lot of ways, this is what's called stack effect. You've got this is stressful and this is stressful and this is stressful and this is stressful. So it's just like got this extra amount on you and on your limbic system. And you feel like you're pushed up against a brick wall and making no progress. But the fact that you show up and you choose to do your rounds, the brain has no choice but to change. It will change. You just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. Catch those negative thoughts. Hopefully after listening to all of this, that's going to get a lot easier. But catch them, move on, and do those rounds, whether they're flat or not. Do you know that I audio record a lot of rounds? And I bet I have way more recorded rounds that I never posted in the recorded rounds group because they were flat. But you know what? I still rewired my brain. Now, oftentimes, if I had a flat round, at the very end of the round, you could hear me in my recording saying, "Good job, Crystal, very good, yay." It doesn't have to be perfect. The fact that you did your round, that's what matters. And I would just remind myself and try to not to pop over that. All right, I'm kind of running out of time, I think, so I better move on quickly. I'm going to go into a couple of self-care tips and some things I've already mentioned. First of all, it's a good idea to consider scheduling times for deep talks and concerns, and maybe even setting a timer. Don't engage with people who are negative right now. Not engaging is part of self-care, which is so very vitally true, something that I learned from my coach, and then my friend Tina put that in perfect words. Number 3, I want you to understand that your progress might plateau some right here, and it might just feel like you're not really going. You may feel like you're kind of, as I like to call it, you're on a roller coaster ride. You're kind of going forwards and gaining progress, and you feel like you're not, but you feel like you're going backwards, and then you're going forward and backwards. You're like on this loop-de-loop, and you go left and you're right, you go every direction, because we all know progress is not linear. But you know what happens? You just keep riding it out. You keep doing the principles you know what I need to do, and then eventually you come out and you start just getting better and better, and progress becomes more and more linear. And you might get on another loop-de-loop at some point, but then you'll get out of that one, and then eventually recovery happens, I promise. Hang in there, all right? Okay, but even though your progress might plateau, guess what? It is actually going to come out, in my opinion, stronger. Going through a time like this is history. Nothing's happened like this before. When you recover, in spite of this, you're going to be so carefree and calm and resilient, and your rewiring will be stronger. Got it? Stronger. Now, in your DNRS journey, it is so important that you think greater than you feel. I'm not saying anything you don't already know, right? But sometimes you need to hear it again. Now is the time to implement that more than anything. Think of yourself as recovered. As you are making decisions, ask yourself, what would someone who does not have a limbic system impairment do? Would they do it the way I'm thinking about doing it? May help you decide if it's the right decision or not. And then ask yourself if you're making decisions or you're doing things out of survival or fear. Don't do anything out of survival or fear. You don't want that, because that's going to keep Limby alive. And we don't want Limby to stay alive. Trust me, you don't. All right, so this is the last little bit. This is my tips for healthcare workers, okay? First of all, you're going to be fine. Things are going to be fine. You're going to come out of this just fine. Now, if you're dealing with constant negative conversations around you, I do not have perfect advice for that, but you might want to consider saying, I'm uncomfortable talking about that right now. Can we change the subject and go to a different subject? It might be that you just need to walk away. It might be, if you can, you put some earbuds in and start listening to some music or something else and tuning it out. I don't really know. Think out of the box. But I believe that you have a choice that you can make to try to limit at least what you're hearing in the conversations around you. And it's not perfect. I get that. Now try to look at this as an opportunity to focus on something other than yourself. Most of us go into healthcare because we love people and we want to help people. So look for the joy in everything you're doing and hold on to it. Move it through your body and feel it. That'll keep you elevated and keep your brain moving in the right direction if you take time during your day to do that. Something special happens. Oh, it's like snapshot in your brain. Consider it. Think about how you're feeling, how it makes you feel. Smile, grin, and move it through. The book Hardwiring Happiness that Annie recommends is really good explaining that and making you want to do that with like everything around you. At least it was for me. Remember that every single day you are having opportunities to make new memories that you can use in your personal memories. And these memories are all part of you being a part of history. You are a part of history in the making right now. So find ways, see if you can find ways to be grateful for the golden opportunity you have to train while you're serving in our communities. No matter what you're doing, you are serving and you're a big part of our communities right now. And we love you and we appreciate you so much. Hold on tight to those 5 pillars and implement to the best of your ability. Remember your best. You're doing your best and your best is good enough. Whatever that looks like on a day in and day out basis, you're doing your best and your best is good enough. Just keep going with this. Just don't drop the principles. You got it. You're going to do this. This is just my personal, I cannot, this is something you need to talk with you and your coach about, okay? I can just tell you from my personal experience. I would consider not doing incremental training right now on top of this. You have such stack effect likely going on. Possibility of just getting through your days, that is your incremental training right now. I had to deal with a really difficult and challenging situation that started before I started DNRS. It forced me to go ahead and do DNRS, and then I had to continue to deal with it for months, and I'm still dealing with some of it even now in recovery over a year later. As a result, sometimes just getting through my day was all I could do, getting my round in, catching those pops, doing all those things. I did all of the 5 pillars constantly, but I did not add in all the other type of incremental training, environmental, food, all that kind of stuff. I did it some in the beginning, and then things got more challenging and I would have to let it go. And then I did some more here and then I had to let it go. And I did some more here. So I didn't follow it from beginning to end like I had planned to, but you know what happened? I still got my results when I got over to here. I still had them because everything I'd been training with, just getting through those days, made my brain and my limbic system so calm and so strong that I still got the results I was working for. So you're going to be okay. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of self-care. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. And do everything, let go of everything that you possibly can let go of. I hope you have a family member, a friend, someone who can cook for you, who can clean for you, who can go search down the groceries that you might need right now, who can take care of those things so that you can rest, rest, rest. I really, really hope so. Sleep, 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 sleep. As much as you possibly can. Sleep, 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 okay? Also, I just want to remind you that if you are in the front lines of this as a medical care provider, you are likely seeing the worst case scenarios. So out of the small population, and it may be a fairly high number of people that you're seeing, and that makes it even more scary. Just remind Limby though, what you're seeing does not translate to meaning this is going to happen to you, to your family, to your friends, or anyone else, okay? Don't future predict. Don't future predict. Catch those pops, catch those pops. Trust the process and be patient with your DNRS times. Like I said, this might feel like a loop-de-loop time for you, but this too shall pass. And in the end, you're going to soar and rewire even stronger. Remember that you said, like I said, you're maybe seeing some of the worst case scenarios, and don't let Limby pop over what you're seeing. And catch those pops and redirect them quickly, because you're going to be just fine. All right, there you go. Okay, I hope this was good information. I hope it was helpful for you. I know that doing the research and putting this together and moving from my limbic brain all the way to the frontal cortex and thinking through this information has made a world of difference for my calm, my husband, who is actually still out working in the middle of all of this as well. He's an essential worker in the United States, so he's still out every day. And my kids. My kids are calm and disappointed, but calm and handling it quite well, I believe. So I'm pretty proud of them for that. So this really is the end of my talk. I do not want to offend anyone in any way at all. So but what I'm going to tell you is what I'm going to do now is I'm going to offer just a short little prayer. You feel free to turn this off at this point if that bothers you, because like I said, I have no desire to offend anyone. I have no agenda here, but my heart just goes out to my friends that I love so much. And I just would like to offer a prayer for you and your families and all of us, okay? My sweet Heavenly Father, I am so grateful for all that you've done in my life and for the rewiring that has taken place and the freedom and joy that I live and I walk in. God, today my heart is burdened because there is a world around us who is struggling with processing this. And God, I am so grateful for my friends that are here. I pray, Lord, that you will just give them a dose of peace and joy and love and gentleness and goodness. They will see your faithfulness, and you will give them and help them as they continue to work strong forward with a sound mind. Help them to process and think with the frontal cortex that you gave them, God. Thank you for loving each and every one of us. I ask that you watch over all of their families and mine as well, and keep us calm. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for watching my video. Have an awesome day. Bye.